Look, I can't help but think that now might be a good time for a little fire and ice. Please
Oh,
do not know.
there's never a good time for fire and ice.
What happens when you mix fire and ice?
Warm water, baby.
It's bubbling, baby. Warm water. Warm water.
We are finally back. Brandon the Iceman Combe, Mike Tipton. After spending 4 days locked up with Aaron Rodgers in a sensory deprivation tank on all the ayahuasca in the world, we have finally made our return, Brandon. It's nice to be back.
It's good to be back with my buddy. I look forward to this every Saturday. Of course, last week we had a hiatus because we were celebrating your birthday.
And we were hanging out with Aaron Rodgers.
That's right. We were doing our shtick, right? we were like sitting in a one of those chambers with no people and no lights, and it's one of those things, those meditation things, isn't it?
It was, yeah, like sensory deprivation. Nobody gets to hang around you. It's just utter darkness and nothingness, right?
You just allow yourself to think for 4 days.
I wanted to get your opinion on this because it seems odd to me, right? Like, how could somebody just go away from everything in a completely dark room? How do you go to the bathroom?
Well, they said there's a restroom in there.
Yeah, but how do you how do you find if everything
they
is
said
dark?
that there was lights. They said there was lights. I looked at the whole. I read the story. They said it's just basically like underground, but it's got like lights. It's got a restroom. But it's like completely secluded from the world, and it's basically you by yourself with no one else for like 4 consecutive days. So all you can do is think and meditate and kind of ponder your existence in your life. And that's really the whole objective, is just to kind of have nobody driving you crazy, no phones, no media, no anything, and to be able to kind of ponder what you're going to do in your life and what's next. And I get it because nowadays everybody's able to get a hold of you at all times and drive you crazy, and it's like there's no privacy anymore, it doesn't seem like. So I feel that was actually I respect that type of a decision. I respect that kind of a move nowadays.
I don't respect it at all, because I feel like he should, if you're going to go for 4 days, just go for the rest of eternity. Right? I'm so done with Aaron Rodgers. It's not even funny. I understand the need to want to get away, to want to do all that stuff. The dude's basically a recluse anyway.
Yeah.
Right? Like he doesn't allow a bunch of people into his circle, as we found out whenever he went on Pat McAfee yelling about the amount of people in his circle. I think I'm just done with Aaron Rodgers, which is a horrible thing to say as a football fan, because I don't get it anymore, man. If this is literally any other quarterback, they're getting scrutinized left and right. Oh, you got to get away from everybody. The pressure's too much, blah, 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 blah. This is a dude that won a Super Bowl based off of how great his defense was.
Right.
One singular Super Bowl, yet somehow is in the conversation with a guy like Tom Brady, which should not happen. Isn't even in the top 10 all time of passing or anything like that. How is it that this guy is consistently getting away with all this nonsense?
Well, he is a 4-time MVP, and I mean, he has played 19 years, and I think he's been a really good quarterback for 19 years, and I feel that some of his better years have even happened in the twilight of his career. I mean, he's won the consecutive MVPs as of just a couple of years ago, and certainly to me, he's still got gas in the tank. He's not as good as he used to be, but with that being said, I feel that if you're one of those elite quarterbacks and one of those guys that can win a Super Bowl, and albeit he's only won one, but hey, I mean, look, at least you got the one ring. I think there's a lot of great quarterbacks in the history of the game that only have one ring. Some of them obviously have never even gotten there and won it. So I feel that you earn that right, that you hoisted the Lombardi Trophy, and they beat a really good Steelers team back in 2010, the one year they did win the Super Bowl. And I mean, the point is that, hey, look, in the end, you are judged by how many championships you win, but at least if you just win one, at least you took care of business. So I feel he is one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league. I think he's one of the best that we've seen in the game, and I feel that maybe he's earned that right ultimately.
What team do you think would reach out to him?
I think Vegas obviously needs a QB, and I still love the idea of him reuniting with Adams, and I think that Vegas kind of would be a type of atmosphere, that would be interesting. Wait a minute. Don't tell me that he can't go there and behave, because he's a very disciplined human being, hence the reason why he was a recluse for 4 days. But, it's not even about the atmosphere. It's, hey, you know what? They're hosting the Super Bowl next year. They have they have the ground game. They have the receivers. They have the staff to be able to be that team that he's looking for, or maybe the Jets. The Jets also have a lot of good pieces. So I would limit it to the Jets or the Raiders at this point that would be buyers for him.
I think he's going to stay in Green Bay, David, to answer your question. I think he's going to stay in Green Bay because Aaron Rodgers likes being the big fish in a small pond. The NFC North is always anybody's game, right? Like, look at the teams that he's had to feast on for his entire career. Whereas the Lions, the Bears, and the Vikings. The Vikings are good every now and again, right? For the most part, if you're Aaron Rodgers, why would you go to the AFC East and deal with Josh Allen every year? Twice a year, and then you got an up-and-coming Miami team with that as well. You got a New England Bill Belichick-style defense coming after you all the time. I wouldn't do it. If I'm Aaron Rodgers and I'm looking at the Las Vegas Raiders, I am also not going to that division to put up with the two young, great quarterbacks in the NFL right now, and Patrick effing Mahomes, who just won his second Super Bowl, and Justin Herbert, who looks like he's going to be one of the greats of all time, right? Aaron Rodgers, even if he goes to Vegas, that's still a third or fourth place team.
Don't you look at trying to have that challenge, though? I mean, what challenge is there in Green Bay? That's the thing, is that you talk about Green Bay, being in such a cupcake division. Well, Minnesota's up and coming. I mean, Chicago with a quarterback like they have and the number 1 overall pick, they could be that up and coming team. And then, of course, the Lions are up and coming. So is staying in the NFC North really that much better of an option for him? I beg to differ.
Out of all those teams, if you keep Green Bay the way that they are right now, you give them a singular receiver, just someone that they can get.
Are they don't go best? After receivers, though. You know that.
But the chances they could. The reason why they couldn't is because they're handcuffed by Aaron Rodgers' contract. That's something that's going to follow him to whatever team he goes to, right? If you're the Jets, why do you give up so much capital and your future for a window that's that big for Aaron Rodgers?
Because that's all you have in general in the NFL is a window that big, though.
But that's the thing, right? It's like I would much rather have the team. You get a younger quarterback than Aaron Rodgers. You can, like, even if it's Derek Carr for a few years, right? I don't think there's a huge difference in the way that they performed between Aaron Rodgers and Derek Carr over the last year. They're not. And the Jets are a defense first.
Was Derek Carr an MVP a couple years ago?
A couple years ago.
I'm just saying.
Peyton Manning was a great quarterback until he won the Super Bowl the last year where he was Franken Manning.
Yes, and he was a good game manager. But ultimately, I think that Rodgers still has the ability, especially with the right personnel around him, to be that MVP caliber quarterback. And Derek Carr is not an MVP.
But this is the thing. Like, everyone always says this about Aaron Rodgers and, like, the excuse machine that just factories out a whole bunch of excuses for this guy. Green Bay didn't have a shitty roster.
No,
at least
not
the 2 consecutive years that they went to the NFC Championship.
And they always
game.
goofed, always.
It wasn't the team that always goofed. It was his decision making that made them.
Well, and coaching, coaching too.
Suspect coaching. It's always suspect coaching. Who's the people that has the ball? Is the coach the one with the ball?
No, it would be the
players. Who's the player that has the ball the most?
Probably the players.
The quarterback.
Yes, exactly.
The quarterback. So when the quarterback's sitting there making the dumb decisions, well, it's on you.
Yeah.
Would you like
young lady on real quick?
Talk about the specials today at the Union Draft.
She told me she was going to try to get somebody else. Yes.
Don't be shy.
Yes.
It's okay.
She's like, no, I'm good.
Thank you, though.
We are out here at Union Draft House, though, 730 Sunland Park Drive in the parking lot of Sunland Park Mall. One of our favorite places to be. Brandon, it's CIDER-DAY. That means all the ciders and all the sours, $4 all day long. On top of that, it's $2 build your own pizza.
Is that a cider?
This is not a cider. I'm glad that you pointed over to it.
Dark ale, right?
As we know, the last time that we were here just a couple of weeks ago, I got the card to be one of the people to try all 100 beers. So I said, instead of being like, ordering whatever, I'm just going to go number 1 through 100. This is number 1.
It looks like a Guinness.
It is a nitro milk stout.
So it has like a coffee flavor?
I am assuming it does.
Okay. You haven't tried it yet.
I know I've tried. I've been waiting for this exact moment.
Take a sip and tell me.
Okay.
Here we go. Da, da, da. He drinks the whole thing.
That's actually really good.
Is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's actually like
You would order it
I wasn't
again?
expecting that. What was that?
You would order it again.
I would order it
It's
again.
got a very rich aroma from here.
It does, like it's got that coffee type. I mean,
Yeah,
it's a
I was
stout.
gonna say, it's a
right?
stout,
So,
yeah.
But for me, like I like stouts.
Okay.
So darker beers, like I'll normally
Not
go
my
darker
cup of
beer.
tea. I wouldn't go with the stout, but you know me, I'm all about the lighter beer.
The one thing that I'm worried about with their 100 beers that they have
Some
is
of them
that
are
I
fair.
see like right in front of me, from what I'm able to see just over
We can
David's
see them all
shoulder,
pretty much.
I see a bunch of IPAs.
Yeah.
And I am not an IPA
So
guy.
you're probably looking at 25 IPAs. I'm thinking,
More
you know?
than likely.
Yeah, good luck for you on that, you know.
25% of the 100 beers are going to be the beer tile I don't like.
Oh, well,
Or maybe by the time I'm done with it, I'm just going to be like one of those like IPA guys, just like, oh, well, the aromas and taste.
I love the aroma. So now the IPA Indian Pale Ale, those are like, I imagine, and again, I'm not, my brother likes those, I don't at all. But those are like more harsh tasting, or what's the Indian Pale? What's the deal
So
there?
they've got more hops in them, right? So the way that they age them, it's got more of like a grassy flavor.
Oh
to
yeah,
it
you know,
than,
thank
like,
you.
some of
That's
the other
not my
ones.
cup of tea.
And that's like to me, they're good. They get you where you want to be. But I don't know if like that's my thing, right? I think, but maybe I'm also not or I'm the person that doesn't have a very eclectic palate when it comes to alcohol, right?
Sure.
Grow up off of Miller Lights and Bud Lights and Natty Lights and all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
You kind of
But
don't.
you know
lean
me, I'm
towards it.
simple. It's like Bud Light or Miller Light or Michelob Ultra. I mean, I don't go with the whole tip route. You know, I know you like the Yingling, and I know you like the Shiner Box and all this stuff. But me, I'm very simple. I'm an easy person. You know.
Oh, you listened to a Shinedown when they told you to be a simple kind of man.
That's right. It's a good song. It's a good song.
Anyway, going back to the Aaron Rodgers debate that we are having right now as well, right? I get it. He gives you an opportunity because, yes, he is one of the best quarterbacks that we've seen in recent memory. I will also challenge you with that thought process. Would you rather have Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady?
Aaron Rodgers nowadays. I mean,
No. I mean, through like their
well, I
career,
mean,
their
come on,
career
obviously
arc.
Tom Brady. I mean, you know, it's
Aaron
yeah, it's
Rodgers
given.
or Peyton Manning.
Peyton Manning,
Aaron Rodgers or Drew Brees.
Breeze.
Where are we going? Like, why
Well,
are
no,
we saying
I
this
get
guy?
it, but I mean that's the thing is that it's not about what quarterbacks are available. How about right now? I mean, that's the thing. Is like, you know, all those guys are retired now, and it's like, well, who's still left, and who still has, you know, a little bit of gas left in the tank, more than likely. And it's like, yeah, I mean, obviously, from a historical standpoint, an all-time standpoint, to me, you know, that's a no-brainer.
So we'll go
But-
with quarterbacks that are in the
I'm
league
talking
now.
about right now.
Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers.
Obviously, Mahomes.
Justin Herbert or Aaron Rodgers. You know you're going Justin Herbert.
Yeah, I mean, Herbert, sure.
Joe
he's pretty good.
Burrow or Aaron
Oh,
Rodgers.
give me Skinny Joe. He's not that skinny.
What are
but-
we doing here, man?
Okay, I get it, but dude, those guys aren't available, and Rodgers is available, man. I mean,
And you're
what's
assuming that you can surround all of those superstars with weapons, and the Cats, where they're going to play, if any, won't allow it.
it's a young man's game today. I get it. I mean, all the greatest quarterbacks right now are 25, 26, the Burrows, the
Who was
Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes' number one receiver this year?
that one kid who took over for the Cheetah. It wasn't Valdez Scanling. He was hurt.
The fact that you don't know his name says
Um,
everything.
The kid they pick up from the Steelers?
Juju
he got hurt, too.
Smith-Schuster?
Just
He got hurt.
He got hurt.
Valdez Scantling
Was
got
it the
hurt.
kid that wore number 10 that took over number 10 for the Cheetah?
He's a running back.
But he's also I don't know. You tell me who was his number one. It was a bunch of guys.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, probably Kelsey then, no?
Like going
Kelsey had to be
to
his number one receiver.
Dave's point, like you assume that you can surround these guys with things, right? Patrick Mahomes' contract, even though it's a huge contract, is very
Huge.
team friendly. Aaron Rodgers' contract was not
No.
team friendly
No.
at all, even to the point where we couldn't they couldn't keep Devontae Adams because of how much they had to pay Aaron Rodgers. Whenever the guy was like, "You guys need to surround me with talent and this and that and blah 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 blah." First off, you had a very talented team that got you to the NFC Championship game 2 years in a row. Then you say, I want more players headed my way, but on top of that, pay me $50 million a year,
Sure.
which is a third of the salary cap.
No,
what can you do
I
in
mean,
that? state?
there's not, you know, you're very limited. I mean, you're very limited, and I understand. And the thing is about Green Bay, look, if you're a Packers fan, I mean, you talk about being disgusted lately. I mean, you talk about Cowboys fans being disgusted.
Dak Prescott or Aaron Rodgers?
Clearly, Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, because Prescott throws too many interceptions. I don't like the route that Dak Prescott is going right now. Now, look, albeit He had a
But you
significant.
like Aaron Rodgers right now. What are we doing, man?
Look, I mean, look, I'm not liking Dak Prescott right now. I hate to say it, dude, but fucking guy throws too many interceptions, and you don't get me to curse much on our
I was
show.
gonna say.
I mean, I'm
Wow.
sorry. He irritates me, dude. You know, how many interceptions did Mahomes throw in the playoffs? Not a damn one, 0. And, you know, if you're going to win a Super Bowl, if you're going to at least advance far in the playoffs, you're not going to throw interceptions. And that's what Dak Prescott does. And that's why he's not a good quarterback. I used to love the guy. Don't love him anymore. I'm saying it right now.
Jalen Hurts or Aaron Rodgers?
Definitely Hurts.
It doesn't seem like it was very
because of his mobility.
Yeah.
And Rodgers is like a statue.
Lamar Jackson, Aaron Rodgers.
I'm going with Aaron Rodgers because the reason why is Jackson is too injury prone. Rodgers at least is able to play the majority of every season, and I like Rodgers better than Jackson. Jackson's good. He's not great though, but he's good. He had that one really good year, but since then it's been kind of really inconsistent for me. First 3 games this year, great. Rest of the season, downhill. Boom.
I feel like I'm letting my haterism towards Aaron Rodgers show. I need to cut that out.
No, I mean, I get it, dude. I mean,
The thing that I want, the chaos that I want, right, is I want Aaron Rodgers to go to the Jets because I think the Jets are a much better team. I think they've got a phenomenal defense.
They have a lot of pieces to the puzzle.
The running back that got hurt earlier this year, Perry?
Yeah.
Something with a P.
He's pretty good.
Yeah.
And he took over for that one. They traded that one young man to Jacksonville.
They've got some good offensive weapons there. They've got a decent offensive
some good
line.
receivers, too.
That would be the team that I think Aaron Rodgers should go to if you want a legitimate chance to win a Super Bowl. Right?
And you're in a more winnable division. Because as good as Buffalo is,
they do have holes.
They have holes, and they have deficiencies. And I wasn't nearly as impressed with Buffalo this year as I thought I was going to be. I'm not to say they took a step back, but to me, Buffalo isn't as good as people are making them out to be. I mean, I like
this was like a lateral year for them.
It was a very lateral year. It was a very. Yeah. I mean, they should have been the team to beat in the AFC, and they weren't. They clearly weren't.
So, if that happens, if Aaron Rodgers goes to the Jets, which I think is a better landing spot for him, I know Devontae Adams is his guy. A lot of holes to me in Vegas with that team. And then in that division, right? Like you're going up against Patrick Mahomes twice a year. You talk about deficiencies being exploited. That's where it's going to happen. If Rodgers goes to the Jets, what is Vegas going to do? Because the only other free agent quarterback out there is Derek Carr, and you just released him. You alienated him.
That ship sailed.
Yeah,
that ship sailed.
So what do?
Well, you either get lucky enough to draft a decent quarterback, but then that's always – nowadays, it's always, you draft a good quarterback. You don't throw him right into the fire. You give him a year to kind of develop, or at least half a year, whatever. But it's a very slippery slope and tough situation for them, especially because, first off, where is the quarterback class and about the free agents? I mean, that's the thing is there's not a lot of great quarterback free agents. So to me, it's kind of almost like you have some talent, but is it a waste of talent because you can't acquire a quarterback?
If you're Vegas
right now,
do you take a flyer on Baker Mayfield?
No, because look, I mean, Mayfield had that one good game with the Rams, and he's a decent quarterback. He's not a terrible quarterback, but I mean, I don't, really is he going to be that instant winner right away? I don't think so. I'm not spending a lot of money on Baker Mayfield. No, and it's like, who the hell else is available right now? It's like, it's really a tough. I mean, Lamar Jackson, if he chooses to leave, but. Again, what are you going to get with Jackson? That's kind of it's a gamble. Literally, it's a gamble being in Vegas.
And that's the thing is like you got Devontae Adams, who's a great receiver. Lamar Jackson isn't a good thrower of the ball, which is what you should be as a quarterback.
Sure.
So like, there's a lot of questions there. I just think there's some magic left in Baker Mayfield. I thought he got a raw deal in Cleveland. I thought he got a raw deal in Carolina because there's no one to throw the ball to in North Carolina with the Panthers.
Yeah.
There was nobody there. He showed some signs of life with a very depleted team in the LA Rams. But team had nobody.
Look at what San Francisco did with Purdy. And I mean, he was a rookie and he was like not supposed to do anything and won like 11 straight games and almost, literally hadn't gotten injured, could have taken them to the Super Bowl. So, I mean, you never know what type of a quarterback you're going to get in the draft. Maybe they'll find a Dak Prescott, who was good years ago at this point, whose first year was good. He took over for Romo and yada, yada, but you never know. And that's the thing. That's where your personnel is going to have to do their homework and their job and hopefully search for the next great quarterback in the NFL. and maybe have to move up and acquire him in the first round. I don't know. That's a very they're kind of in a very big dilemma in Vegas right now.
Also want to give a shout out to someone from here in El Paso, Texas, Robert Rodriguez, being named the outside linebackers coach of the Arizona Cardinals. That's actually really cool.
It's big
to see something like that. The dude has done
guy.
a lot of good stuff with defenses in Minnesota.
Did I ever tell you my
awesome
my Robert Rodriguez story?
You have not.
So true story. I went to see the Bears play the Vikings in November of, I want to say 2018, 2017. Coach Rodriguez was the defensive line coach.
Oh.
So I reach out to him and I'm like, hey coach, I'm going to be in Chicago. You guys are going to be in Chicago. Can you help me out and get me some, like team tickets? And he says, yeah. He says, I'll get them to you at like cost. So I meet Coach Rodriguez. They literally just fly in. He says, I'm at the Marriott. Come pick me up. I tell him I'm going to take you out for a grease. I'm going to take you out for a Chicago hot dog. I go pick up Coach Rodriguez at the Tame Hotel. He comes out. It's like old home week. What's going on, buddy? Give him a hug. He's like, yeah, there's Adam Thielen right over there. And it was really cool. So we pick him up, take him to this hot dog joint in Wrigleyville. Got a grease. Got the tickets from him and dropped them back off at the Team Hotel. Got to hang out with Coach Rodriguez for a few hours.
David, that seems like a fair trade, right? Like Brandon gets tickets to an NFL
Well, I
game
paid for them. I did pay for the tickets.
while taking out someone for hot dogs.
I did. Well, it was kind of cool. The guy's a defensive line coach for the Minnesota Vikings, don't you know? That was fun. And he was wearing all his Vikings gear. And I take him to a hot dog joint in Chicago. I was like, damn, do I really want to be seen with this guy in Chicago? But nobody said anything to him. Nobody talked trash. And everybody was cool. And I was like, hey, man, I'm with Coach Rod, man. This is pretty cool.
I also wanted to get this, and I don't want to open up old wounds for our guy Dave over here who had to watch the Super Bowl. His Philadelphia Eagles ultimately collapsed.
But I understand how that game was won, and I've got a new name for Coach Reed. The pacemaker. His orchestrating the clock during the last 2 minutes of the game was a work of art.
What a Hall of Fame coach he is. And
You
really,
remember early on in his career, like the
Everybody
reason
was
why he
busting his
got
balls.
out of Philadelphia was because the guy couldn't manage the clock. He's done amazing.
he
man.
is, to me, if I'm going to get a coach to start an organization with, it's Andy Reid. That guy is unbelievable. And then, they're like talking, oh, how many more years do you have left? That dude's going to coach till he's 100. I mean, as long as he's able to, as long as he's healthy and whatnot, that man's going to coach forever. Why would you give up what he has? Because who knows how many years Kansas City is going to be good for. Kansas City is potentially the next New England and then some. I mean, they're amazing. And like, whenever you have a guy like Mahomes, that just proves that as long as you have the core, which is him, the rest is like, hey, I get this person, that person. I don't have to have all-star players. I have good enough players. He's going to get it done for me. They're amazing. They really are.
Whenever I looked at the game, I remember us talking about the game prior to it happening. David said that he didn't want something to be swung on by a bad call. Brandon thinks it was a horrible call. I think it was the right call because he clearly held. What were your thoughts?
Call?
Well, the play I'm talking about was when Andre told his people, don't go for the touchdown, deliberately go out of bounds.
Oh, that was great. That was smart. And well, he actually
line.
slid down inbounds, and that was good. They were saying that guy could have told his grandkids, hey, I scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl, but instead I took a knee for the savior of the team for winning the game and doing what was right. Smart move, because other teams have not made that kind of move before. They've made dumb moves.
I mean, we saw it with Austin Eckler, a couple of years ago where he needed to basically take a knee against Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
He was just running around. They picked him up and threw him in the end zone for a touchdown.
Or was it this year, the Jets and the Browns, I think, and the Jets goofed because they scored, and the Browns came back and won that game. So it's really hard not to score, but that's called disciplined football. So, I mean, that it was a holding call. I just didn't like the way it transpired and happened at the end of the game. That's a crappy way to end a great game, unfortunately.
So yesterday we got the pleasure and privilege of being interviewed by a couple of friends of ours, the Words on Fire podcast. Check them out anywhere you get your podcast. They've got an awesome following. They were the people that I did the emceeing for the pillow fight earlier last year. Fantastic time out there over at Old Sheepdog Brewery as well. You and I were talking about football with them. They wanted to talk about nothing but sports with us. And they're talking about conspiracy theories in football. You kind of had, so I was not expecting this from Brandon the Iceman Coach. What were your thoughts, Brandon?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some really shady people that are involved in the decision-making in football, because it's all about money. And there's billions of dollars on the line. And some of the things that happen to me are way too much of a coincidence and like a Hollywood script. I mean, they really are. Now, I'm not saying that there's that goes on. I am saying there's a lot of cheating that goes on. I am saying that it's a joke, the testing, that everybody's on something who's at least decent and good, okay? And the officiating's absolute garbage because there's way too many missed calls, and I understand that they're human, and I understand that there's going to be mistakes because whenever humans are judging other humans, there's going to be mistakes because we all make mistakes. We all goof. But with that said, I just think the way the AFC Championship ended, the Super Bowl ended, it's almost like it's scripted. Now, I like to hope it's not scripted, but damn, I was talking about it. If it was scripted, why haven't the Cowboys won a Super Bowl in the last 30 years? Just saying. So I guess it isn't scripted then.
And that's what I'm saying, right? So you got Arian Foster, former running back for the Houston Texans, goes on his podcast and says, oh, no, yeah, the NFL gave me a script. It said week 3 I was going to, strain my hamstring. The Texans were going to start 3-0, and then they were just going to go downhill from there, right? His words on his podcast, obviously, a guy wants to get clicks, right? No problems.
Right.
Got no issue with it. My thing would be if the NFL had any type of scripting in it, it would take a Herculean effort from people to not leak that information out. We have never seen human beings in the history of humanity be able to control themselves from wanting that type of power or anything of that sort, right? So to me, it's like, okay, I get it's great conversation fodder, this and that, blah, blah, blah. For me, it does suck whenever games are decided on that, right? The second that hold happens in the Super Bowl, there it is. There's your scapegoat for the game.
Pete Rose, wasn't he refused admission to the Hall of Fame because he tried to script by betting on his own team?
I would say Pete Rose is kicked out of the Hall of Fame for saying, I think my team will win.
Yeah, it's the most ridiculous reason in the world to be kicked out of the Hall or to not be in the Hall of Fame. Obviously, he's never been elected, enshrined, and I don't think he ever will be because there's too many. We talked about this too. Too many baseball writers that don't like him. It's all a shtick. It's all smoke and mirrors. It's all a popularity contest, which is wrong. I'm sorry.
Do Hall of Fames matter?
No. And to me, it's like all about what do I do for. Okay, so like when it's all said and done, the honor and the prestige of being in the Hall of Fame is one of the greatest honors in the world. But what really matters is what you do during your career, your statistics, and how many championships you win. Really, honestly, what really matters is how many championships you win. Eli Manning won 2 Super Bowls. That's what he's going to be remembered for.
Why do championships mean more in football, basketball than they do in baseball? Because some of the greatest baseball players out there, Ken Griffey Jr., everyone never even sniffed a championship, right? Why is that? Is it because we got used to like these dynasties? Basically, the Yankees run everything, and then everyone else is in second place.
Yeah.
Like, why is it that the championship in baseball doesn't weigh as much on an individual's career as it does in football?
I do feel that again, it's been the major dynasty in all of baseball has always been the Yankees with 26 World Series. Am I right? 27. And it's like, what other team has there ever had a dynasty really in MLB? I mean, obviously the Red Sox have been good in the last 20 years, and the Blue Jays won a couple in the early 90s. But I mean, it's like in the NFL or NBA, you have the Bulls, the Lakers, the Celtics. It's like I have 3 great teams that have really dominated and won 50% of the championships, whatever. In the NHL, obviously you had the Edmonton Oilers. You had the likes of amazing teams that took care of business. Oh, the New York Islanders when they had their times in the 80s. So it's interesting, and of course the NFL. I mean, you have your top 4 or 5 franchises, and of course you've won more than 2. You're pretty damn good, and there's getting to be more teams that have won 2 or more now. So I think it is all about championships, and of course the way you're able to dominate certain eras, and that's why it's so much more important.
Robert Powell saying we're doing a great job because we have 2 viewers. This is a podcast recording, so we get more of the, responses on the podcast. But that's another thing for another day. Thanks there, Guy. You're a genius. Moving on. Whenever you look at baseball, right, and you look at all the stuff that baseball has, you talk about those dynasties. You're talking about the Lakers, the Celtics, the Chicago Bulls. That adds more to my point, right? They have won 50% of the championships. Why do we put so much value on championships whenever we also want players to not move teams? We want players to have that one team where they just do all their thing and, spend their whole career there trying to win a championship, and then we romanticize the fact that they never did, like we did with Charles Barkley, right? Why does the championship matter?
Because it's the ultimate pinnacle in sports. It's what you're playing for, obviously. I mean, let's face it. I've said this many times. The regular season is very irrelevant. It's all about what you do in the playoffs. And I mean, in the end of the day, you look at some of the greatest players in any sport of all time, and what are you most renowned for? What are you most respected for? And statistics are just that. They're just statistics, and they're great, and they pad numbers, and they make you look great, and they make you look good. But in the end, when you think of the greatest players in any sport of all time, what's the one thing you always look at? Championships. And that's what everybody wants, is the ring at the end of the day, or the championship belt in boxing or MMA or whatever. I mean, it's like, I look at the greatest, I look at careers, how they're determined and how it's all said and done. And I mean, it sucks to say it, but you are not considered as great of an athlete in any respected sport unless you've won at least a championship. And to me, it's how it defines your career.
I'm wondering, Brandon, if I should engage stupidity here, because I do have a way of roasting this individual, but I think I'll be nice.
I was going to say, I felt ball busting coming, but you kind of just said it and just brushed it under the rug. That's pretty funny, man.
All right, here we go, nerd. What's the difference between a stoner and a Mexican is the question that Robert Powell asks. I am assuming the Mexican is in your mother's ass and the stoner is in her mouth.
Oh, God. Oh, jeez. Do you know this Powell fella? He seems to like you. He seems to like you.
I do not.
He's
but
breaking your balls.
whenever you decide that you want to come on here, you open yourself up, just like Robert Powell's asshole is.
Oh, Powell, you done mess with the wrong person and Tip.
I was about to say, he doesn't know what he got into.
That's pretty funny, man.
Oh, I'll be nice.
Tip.
I'll be nice.
I've learned not to break. I mean, I break Tip's balls like they're going out of style, but he will redeem himself against me. There's no doubt. I've learned he will tear me a new one, like last night. That was pretty good. Good job, buddy.
That, of course, referred to us being interviewed on the Words on Fire podcast over by our friends. That was a fun time last night.
I enjoyed myself.
Cool.
You make me laugh, dude. I was making you guys laugh too. We were having a good old time.
It's always a good time. It's always a good time whenever Brandon and I get together. Once again, we're out here at Union Draft House, 730 Sunland Park Drive, in the parking lot of Sunland Park Mall, over here on the west side of El Paso, Texas. It's Cider Day. That means all the ciders and all the sours are $4 all day long. The $2 build your own pizza. We got that going on until 4 o'clock today. And as a matter of fact, they've got boxing in here tomorrow, Brandon. Some awesome fights happening.
Fury's fighting his brother, and that's going to be interesting to see what happens. I mean, you know, Tyson Fury's brother is fighting. Isn't it? Is it tomorrow?
That is tomorrow.
Okay, so because I know they're fighting in like Dubai or something like that, right?
They're fighting in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. It is Tommy Fury taking on Jake Paul. An awesome. I have gained so much respect for Jake Paul.
Oh, yeah.
Even
absolutely.
his brother, Logan Paul, doing the stuff that he's doing in the WWE. I get it, wrestling, scripted, blah, 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 right? Just the fact that they're athletic enough to do this.
Oh, yeah. No, it's respectable. And Jake Paul's put on some very interesting performances. And I'm actually not sure how good Fury's brother is. I know he's not nearly as big as Tyson Fury, but he's supposedly a big boy, too. So that's going to be an entertaining bout. I mean, look, boxing doesn't have an abundance of extremely big fights nowadays. It's all about the UFC and MMA nowadays. So I'm really looking forward to seeing this one. That one should be good. It should be interesting.
I have kind of fallen out with boxing just because we don't get the big marquee fights, right?
And it's a lot of it's BS, man. A lot of the decisions.
It's all the politicking and all that nonsense that goes along with boxing.
You don't see that in MMA. I don't see a lot of bad decisions in UFC. I mean, I watch it almost every week. I mean, my buddies got me into it years ago at this point, but I mean, man, I'll tell you what, it's a lot of legitimate decisions. And I mean, the fights are exciting. I know you're not into UFC yet, but damn, it's exciting, man. It really. And John Jones is coming back next week. I can't wait for that one. UFC 264. 268 rather. I think.
I think what needs to happen in order for me to get into the MMA and UFC and all that stuff is we got to watch it together.
Yeah.
I want to see how Brandon just lets loose.
I enjoy it.
And starts because I feel like you might be like Destiny. Destiny used to throw punches.
Oh no, right? I'm not like that.
Brandon just starts choking people out. Like there's enough of that, guy.
So let me go.
I will not tap.
Let me show you the Von Fluke tip. It's a move, the Von Fluke. Von Flute, I think that's how you pronounce it. It's an MMA move. It's where you make someone submit.
Submit?
Yeah, you submit. You submit.
Daddy.
By submission, the Von Flute.
So but what I was saying, my overall point here was seeing the stuff with Jake Paul. I get it. It's a lot of fodder and nothing fights that are really have no meaning, right? But they're fun.
Oh yeah.
And it's nice to see the way that they've kind of forced boxing's hand here of like, we need to evolve and make this more entertaining than what it was.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I necessarily like that for boxing, to where the boxing is secondary and the entertainment aspect around it is primary.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is, and it has been a big fight. Remember we watched the Tyson Fury fight here when the World Cup was going on, I think back in November? We watched him defend his title, and we happened to be here, and it was going on. And yeah, I mean, it's from an entertainment perspective. Look, it's never, in my opinion, again, going to reach what it was in our young era. Well, for me, especially back in the 90s. I mean, the 90s was an unbelievable time for the heavyweights, one of the most prosperous times in the history of the sport. The 80s was that prosperous time for the middleweights, okay? And of course, the 2000s, you also had the heavyweights as well. But nowadays, it's just something about it, man. It's like it's lost its luster, unfortunately. It's lost its luster. It's lost its respect. And that sucks because I used to love boxing, man. I mean, and I still do. I mean, I enjoy a good fight, but you just don't see nearly as many great boxing matches anymore.
Or the entertainment at the press conferences, which Muhammad Ali was a master of, talking smack, because there was always humor in what he said.
Best promoter of all time.
Oh yeah,
Muhammad Ali, best promoter of all time. There was never a better one.
And he had to be, right? Like, because back then, he had to be his own mouthpiece.
Yeah.
I look at boxing now and I wish we had those personalities. I think
we
that's
don't have
what
that.
boxing is missing.
We don't have it,
Tyson Fury is kind of that guy.
Yeah,
because he does have
but he's it though.
Yeah.
I mean, Joshua turned out to be, good, but not great. The kid that Fury beat twice he beat him. It's just tough, man. You don't have a lot of entertainment nowadays. What are you laughing at?
Oh, the comments.
Is this guy still breaking your balls?
He's probably sitting there jerking off to my voice because who wouldn't? He's like, real men watch the UFC, little girls watch WWE.
This guy has it out for you, man. It's pretty funny. This guy's your new #1 fan. I like this. This guy, he's breaking your balls.
He's probably got a tattoo of my face on his cock, which I don't blame him. That's the only way that he'd ever get laid.
I didn't say it. He did. Smile, not me, man.
Either way. So whenever I look at boxing and stuff, when you look at a guy like Tyson Fury, I was my overall point was getting to this whenever it comes to us as fans, right? Because I think everything is driven by the fans and the way that the fans react to things. Whenever I hear the fan base turn on somebody, Ronda Rousey, whenever she lost that match, quickly, just like that. My God, you lost for the first time in forever.
Yeah.
Same thing with Conor McGregor. You lose that one match, all of a sudden everybody is done with you. Yeah. Why is that we do that in combat sports? Right? Because I feel like the second Tyson Fury loses his next match, all his momentum, everything that he's built just goes down the drain, right? That's part of the reason why Mayweather decided that, I want to retire on top undefeated, because at least that way the legacy will always stay the same. I'll do these boxing exhibitions, which mean nothing at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But, I mean, really? Is it one match that really defines an entire career?
No, of course not. Because, look, at the end of the day, everybody's going to lose. I mean, it's there was only one undefeated champion. I believe it was Rocky Marciano. I don't remember any other champions retiring undefeated. But, yeah, I mean, you're going to lose. I mean, it's boxing. Two things are guaranteed. Number one, you're going to get hit. Like they tell me every week when I'm doing my boxing, is you're going to get hit. It's boxing, man. It's the goal is to obviously try not to get hit, but you're going to sustain some punches,
Oh, yeah.
and ultimately you're going to lose here and there. I mean, it happens, man. It's part of the game. You're not going to win every single fight, just like you're not going to win every game in sports. So you have to be used to that, and just how do you rebound from that particular loss or whatever. But
I think the best way that you rebound from a particular loss is fucking Robert Powell's mom.
Oh my
then
God.
You move on and you figure out, that was rock bottom.
What did he say? What did he say this time? My God.
I just figured that's the way that I'm going to go.
God, Robert Powell, he got a new friend.
Even if she's buried, you dig her up and just rub one out all over it. That's the way that you do it. But he climbed up the wrong tree, man.
Whoa, man.
But I'm tired of this whole thing when you lose that one match, or the Eagles. Everything of the Eagles season was a horrible season this year because they lost in the Super Bowl. You made it to the damn Super Bowl.
Yeah,
I get it. It's ultimately about winning the championship, about winning that big match, about winning all that stuff. But that shouldn't be the one thing that defines everybody, right? Whenever you look at people and they talk about the Buffalo Bills quote unquote dynasty. You know how hard it is to make it to 4 consecutive Super Bowls?
It's impossible.
But
Not just hard, but impossible, especially nowadays.
Yeah, and we look at them
even
as like
Kansas City hasn't done it as good as they've been.
Yeah, and we look at them as like one of the biggest losers of all time. I heard this conversation whenever it came down to Kansas City as well, where it was, yes, they've won 2 out of the last 5, but they should have won more.
Well, look, no. That's insane. That's stupid. That's the worst argument I've ever heard in my life. They should have won more. I mean, the ball has funny ways of bouncing, and look, you're not going to win every year. It's impossible, man. It's impossible to win every year. Things are going to happen, whether it be injuries or you lose by 3 points to the Bengals, but look, you get a Super Bowl and I'm happy. You get to 2, I'm ecstatic, and I mean. Yeah, the Eagles made it, man. I mean, who in their right mind expected the Eagles to make it this year? And that, to me, what a win for them. And I mean, what a well-run organization now. I mean, look at what they've done. You bring in a newer coach and you bring in the new additions. I mean, smart run organization, a wisely run organization, made the Super Bowl, and I think they're going to be good for a long time to come. I really do. It's easy to say that because they could fall from grace really fast. Couple big injuries, but I like the direction Philly's going, man.
How's Jalen Hurts' shoulder holding up?
Well, that's
going to be the big question, right? Because we saw at the end of the game of the Super Bowl, when Jalen Hurts dropped back and tried to throw that Hail Mary, that thing died after what, 25, 30 yards. It just straight down into the ground.
And Andy had a suspicion they weren't going to do a successful throw with just 8 seconds on the clock.
What's it called?
Oh, he knows that one. He likes Guinness. He likes Ireland.
Oh.
So you got a Guinness now.
Yes, okay.
You know Guinness, at least.
Once again, over here with our friends, I'm sorry, David, that I cut you off.
No, that's okay.
Over here with our friends at Union Draft House, 730 Sunland Park Drive. Remember, they have 100 beers on tap. You get a little card. You go through all 100 beers. They hook you up with all kinds of stuff. I am currently on beer number 2. The first one was the Nitro Milk Stout. This one, obviously, Guinness. Throw a little Bailey's in there and have ourselves a good time. We got St. Patrick's Day coming up anyway.
St. Patty's Day. I love St. Patty's Day.
Oh, it's going to be a good old time.
It's a good time to drink, right?
David, what was it that you were trying to say?
No, I was about to say the weakness in Jalen Hurts' shoulder. Andy Reid read that perfectly. That's why he only gave them 8 seconds to throw a Hail Mary, because he suspected they wouldn't be able to pull it off in that little time.
And that was the thing, right? Like, we can talk about both injuries, how both quarterbacks had injuries, one to the shoulder, one to the ankle.
Yes.
I don't think Mahomes' injury was nearly as bad as people made it out to seem. I think the Jalen Hurts injury was more apparent in the second half of the Super Bowl, because all Philadelphia did was try to run the ball. It's almost like they couldn't drop back and pass it all. Now, granted, they had the lead, and that would be smart football, but you have to know, against the Kansas City Chiefs, you got to put up points.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
like, you can't go 3 and out. You can't do any of that.
No, and that was, and people forget, my late great Uncle Bertie always used to say there's 2 halves to a football game. And that's the thing, is I don't give a crap how great you're doing in the first half. You got to be able to seal the deal. And hence the reason why you become the second team in NFL history to blow a double-digit lead in 57 Super Bowls. And that's not a great statistic to be on the wrong side of. So, you better be able to stay up with the Joneses. You better be able to score points. And they just completely shit the bed and failed in the second half. And, part of it's, to me, attributed to, number one, Hurts. But number 2, the defensive adjustments that Kansas City made. That's significant as well, too.
Robert Powell saying, the way that I hold this microphone is kind of like I have had practice.
Well, you have.
Though, I mean, whenever you got a cock as big as mine, you got to be able to hold it with like this, my guy.
Huge.
Granted, you hold yours with tweezers, but I actually learned how to hold it this way from watching the way that your father was milking the bulls here in Texas.
Even Daver likes that one.
I feel so bad for Daver, because I don't think Daver has ever seen this side of me.
That's not a cow, sir. That's a bull.
And unfortunately, that's why Robert Powell has a taste for cum. So that's an amazing thing.
That's what makes these podcasts. The license to say
we
stuff
couldn't
like
say
that
this on the radio,
and
you mean?
know that it's entertainment.
Right.
Oh, you could, but there would be so many ramifications.
We'd be canned a long time ago, right?
So whenever I was working at 1380, they used to have like just a finger regularly on the dump button, because they're like, "What's this guy gonna say?" Right?
I'm gonna look. If I could climb onto this table right now, I would.
And we know why.
Shut the fuck up, you rotten SOP. That's not what I was referring to. Your freaking family's over here, man.
That's a good tell.
The
Trust me.
boys don't know what the hell you're saying. They're on their
Trust
iPads.
me.
What's this? Whoa.
They've heard worse.
Only I heard my Louis Maganini dad talking all this crap right now.
They've heard me say much worse. My kids have been battle hardened to my
poor boys
antics and the things that I do. I'm either raising them very poorly or very well, and I don't know which one. It depends on
I'm
what
gonna
day
take a
we're
rain
falling
check
on.
on answering that one right now. You know, he's your buddy. I played the fifth on that one.
But okay, so yeah, looking at like Jalen Hurts, the injury, all of the stuff.
This guy now he's breaking my balls.
Yeah,
it's okay, Robert. Do I know you or what?
No, I mean,
it's like.
I mean,
I'm having a good time with this.
I appreciate Robert being here because
he's a good guy. He's making us laugh and tell funnies.
Yeah, because we'll never cross paths, and I hope that one day we shall, Robert. One day, maybe it'll be whenever I'm at your mom's house. But moving on, going over to the way that it is with sports and everything else. I love how uncomfortable you are. I don't think you've seen this either.
Excuse me, I need to go to the restroom for the next 10 minutes.
That's all it takes.
I meant to say for the rest of the podcast, but okay. 8 minutes, whatever.
Okay, so we got a few minutes here, but talking about the future of Philadelphia, wondering what's going on with them. I love seeing the parity that we have now in the NFL, right? Because it seems like you've got, I know a few years ago it felt like you got 2-3 teams that could possibly win.
Sure.
Now it feels like each conference has a legitimate 5 to 6 teams that are constantly in the race that you could say, you know what, if that team wins the Super Bowl, I wouldn't be surprised at all, right?
Yeah.
You can say that with San Francisco. You can say that with Philadelphia. I mean, hell, even with as bad as Green Bay is at times, if Aaron Rodgers got into a Super Bowl, yeah, you'd be like, I kind of understand that, right?
Yep.
The Dallas Cowboys, with all the talent they have, if the sun shines on the dog's ass every now and then, you can be like, you know what, I saw that happening. Kansas City, Buffalo, Cincinnati, Baltimore, even the Chargers, right? Like there's so many teams
Diego,
out.
the Bills, certainly. I mean, and Tennessee was decent not that long ago until they got rid of everybody.
Yeah.
So, there's 6 teams.
So for me, like I love the parity that we're seeing in the NFL. I love the parity that we're seeing in sports in general, minus the NBA, which me, I love the NBA. The Spurs are basically making it horrible for me to watch, but I understand what the end game is. They're trying to get Victor Wembanyama from France. So, I mean, you get a 7'5" center that can shoot threes from the opposite free throw and make them regularly. I think that's a pretty awesome guy to get on your team. But ultimately, I just want to see my teams win, right?
Absolutely. It's the name of the game.
So why is it, again, that once we see a team lose, we're just dumping all over?
Oh, because that's human nature, man. When somebody loses, you want to break their balls. I mean, when they're winning, you're on cloud 9, you're happy. When they're losing, they're garbage, which is wrong. But it's the way it's the way fans are.
Are you that way, David? Like when watching the Super Bowl, because I've never watched sports with you, right? So I would like to know, whenever you were watching the Super Bowl, what was going through your mind as that game was happening?
Strategy, as well as how people adjusted based on the limitations of the players at that time.
But if you're a Philadelphia fan, you have to be happy. And I say that because they won the Super Bowl 4 years ago, whatever.
Yeah.
So you got one in the last 5 years. I mean,
I was, and there's a difference of opinion. I looked at it as creativity, and Master Tipton looked at it as just trickery.
But I mean,
it was the same stunts.
My philosophy is being a Cowboys fan, piss poor as they are, they can't even get to one. You give me one in the last 10 years, I'm happy as hell. I'm doing somersaults, man.
Well, see, that's my thing. Where I was like, I got to see 3 as a kid.
So did I. We were
so for me,
it,
I could die a happy guy because I've heard stories of Cubs fans.
Yeah.
I mean, the Kansas City Chiefs, they've gone 50 years between winning Super Bowls.
It's a long time.
The Raiders are at year 40 now between winning Super Bowls.
Yeah. I mean, you got to see one. You see one. It's not easy, man.
I've also had the Yankees and Spurs spoil me. So
I mean, I'm of course being a Bulls fan in the 90s, or a Blackhawks fan, and then there's my White Sox that won one, and they probably will never win another one, but they got the one in 05, and I got to see it, thank God. So I'm happy, dude. Okay.
That's what it should be, right? Just be happy with what your team is doing.
Yeah, I mean, dude, come on. If you're not the Yankees, which, they still haven't won a World Series in a long time, or you're not, when I'm just saying, you can't just say, or you're not, the Patriots fan, or, somebody that just dominates ever, KC, whatever. I mean, hey, you get one, you dibble dabble one here and there. I mean, hey, you saw one. Don't be spoiled, Want
to give a shout out to our friends over at 3 Missions Brewery, 10179 Socorro Road. They have that awesome Moon City Japanese blue lager, the blue beer, Brandon. I know you haven't had it yet, but we got to go out there and try that beer sometime soon. Don't forget, they always have the Socorro Blondes. That's an awesome beer that they've got out there as well. The churro stout, that's one of my favorite stouts that they have out there. It tastes just like a damn churro, which is fantastic. If you've never had one of those, I don't know where you've been living, but you haven't been living on Earth. But our friends over there at Three Missions Brewery, they've got great music going on throughout the whole week. They've got amazing beer specials, some of the best craft beer in the city of El Paso, Texas. And, of course, I want to give a shout-out to our friends over here at Union Draft House, 730 Sunland Park Drive, in the parking lot of Sunland Park Mall on the west side of El Paso, Texas. Awesome deals all week long. Today on Saturday, it's Cider Day. $4 ciders and sours, and, of course, the $2 build-your-own pizzas. Get on out here. Tomorrow on Sunday, they've got the XFL, and they have the big boxing match between Jake Paul and Tommy Fury. Hopefully you get a chance to come on out here and experience this awesome atmosphere out here.
It's a great place. Always love it. I mean, it really is an awesome place. And, come on out here, enjoy some of the nosh, enjoy some of the mini sports going on. They got baseball back, unbelievable horse racing. So some good stuff, man. Enjoying this place as usual.
I'm excited to see what goes on with the baseball season this year. I know you're not so much into baseball like I am.
Okay. I mean, I'll go to a lot of Chihuahuas games. Obviously, I'll, maybe catch a game if I go to Chi-Town this summer. But it's just such a long sport. It's kind of like drawn out. I'm not the biggest baseball. I mean, I like baseball, but I don't love it.
This explains why the AAA baseball rewrote the rules on the timer clocks when teams changed.
They should. I mean, they should have a clock in baseball. It's stupid that it's the only sport that doesn't have a clock. I'm sorry.
It's also one of the
But
oldest.
minor league baseball has it. Go figure.
Yeah, why?
Golf doesn't have a clock.
Yeah.
NASCAR doesn't have a clock.
Yeah. That's a good point.
It's not the only sport with that.
Well, no, I'm not saying it's the only sport,
guy.
but I mean, needs
I
a
don't
clock.
like a
Needs a
baseball
clock because
purist.
it like goes on forever.
I'm like a baseball purist. I don't care how long it lasts as long as it's still baseball injected into my veins.
Yeah,
I'm a happy guy.
I mean, like I said, I'm okay with going in person, but I mean, it's okay. It's an okay sport. I'm not hating it. It's my least favorite sport, though. No doubt.
We both showed up in Texas in Dallas at the end
That's
of
right.
the
We went to the
season last
Rangers game together.
Yeah,
We were
together
there.
but apart.
That was, that was a fun game.
That was a really good game.
That was what I like that stadium. I really do. That's a beautiful ballpark. Glad we got to go together, kind of.
All right, so Brandon, we'll go ahead. I know we went together, kind of.
We tried.
Not
I
even
tried
at
to
all.
see you.
Yeah,
Well, I talked to you.
we did. We spoke.
And then I said, let's see each other afterwards. You said, well, I got to go to the car.
It
And I
was
never
the other
saw
way
it.
around
No, it wasn't. I
It
was waiting for
sure
you
as
at that
hell
place you
was.
told me to meet you at.
at Texas Live.
Yeah, I was
That's a
waiting
fun
for you.
time. That's a fun time, Texas Live.
Yes, yeah, the place.
really
Good
do.
barbecue, man. You were right about that BBQ joint.
All right, Brandon, it's been a ton of fun.
Got nothing
Everybody,
but love for you.
I can't wait to see where we are next week because I got to figure this out as well. There's a possibility we might be somewhere new, Brandon.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
talking to them, so it's going to be a fun time. We'll see how that
Interesting.
goes.
You got a shtick?
Of course.
Okay.
Of
Good.
course.
Good.
David, as always, thank you for coming out here. Everybody that was out there listening and watching, thank you so much. Robert Powell, tell your mom I'll see you later.